we're going to just do a few little things in sitting. So starting by leaning back on your hands and just letting your legs lengthen out. Muted people yet, so maybe I will mute you in case more people are joining. Okay, so yes, leaning back on your hands, and you can give your legs a bit of a roll. So I always get a bit confused with this one, but I think there's like windscreen wipers, isn't it? So both your feet go the same way. We shouldn't say too much about these things. Your feet going side to side like this. Or if your feet they don't even have to be that much wider, but you can do the feet going out and then in. And so we're going to do quite a few things today where we have a chance to take our legs up into the air and give them a chance to cool down our feet. And then just before we do a couple of other things here, do a little bit of pointing your toes and pointing your heels. So this is quite nice. When we point our toes, we stretch out in the front of the ankles. When we stretch our heels away from us, the back of the leg starts to lengthen out a bit. So a couple more times. So yes, it's absolutely lovely to have all this beautiful weather, but I think it's also can be quite tiring and draining. So that's why I thought we'd just do quite an easy class today. Doesn't mean there's not going to be, also everything's maybe a bit looser in our muscles. So there'll be hopefully some interesting things too. So from here, what I'd like you to do is keep leaning onto your right hand and then see if you can bring your left arm around the back of your left thigh. And then you can do a little bit of circling into your left ankle. So circling one way, circling the other, and keep leaning back onto the right hand so you're not having to hold yourself up in sitting. Good. Okay, and then from here, what you're going to do is swap your arms over. So your left hand's going to come onto the floor and you're going to catch the outside edge of your foot with your right hand. Just see if that's it, very nice. And then just swing this leg a little bit from side to side. And again, lean back onto your right hand. And just see how that feels. And yes, Sarah, you're doing more of the swinging over this way, across your leg, rather than out to the side. Hi, Donna. Okay, so just a couple more times with that one. And it's really up to you. You can make it a bigger movement or a smaller movement. And then let that left leg go. Give both legs a little bit of a bounce or a roll or a shake on the floor. And then keep leaning onto your left arm and bring your right arm around the back of your right thigh. Goodness, too many lefts and rights in this hot weather. And then circling your ankle. So circling one way, circling the other. So Helen, I think up to your run last night, I always really like to do sort of ankle circling things when I've been running. So one way and then the other. And then like we did on the other side, you're going to swap your arms over. So catch the outer edge of your foot with your left hand and lean back onto your right arm. So this should be opposite hand and leg, yeah? So that you can do this side to side movement. Or Sarah, for you, more the sort of over across your long leg. Good. And swinging your leg. One more time, side to side, seeing how that feels. So those of you who've just joined, we are going to lie down in a minute. I just thought we would start with a couple of sitting things. And then lengthen that leg out. Again, give the legs a little bit of a pounce, a little bit of a shake. Now, what I was going to get you to do, and Sarah, it might be all right for you, I'm not sure, is cross your ankles. So it's like you're sitting in a cross-legged position. But actually with your ankles crossed, and a little bit of circling. Let's see how this feels. So Sarah, if you think it's not going to be good, then come into kneeling and do a little bit of those sort of cat movements in kneeling. So just, yeah, that's it. A little bit of circling. Very, very nice circling. Let's see. Good. And then we'll change the cross of the ankles. So put the other leg in front. So it might even feel less comfortable. So I don't know about you, but I don't tend to sit cross-legged very often. I'll sit in, half lotus or one heel in front of the other, Siddhasana, but not like this, so it does all feel a bit strange. So a little bit of circling. And then what we're going to do just before we lie down is find a comfortable position to sit in. So it may be a cross-leg position. It could be kneeling. If you'd like to have your legs long and straight, maybe have your back against the wall or the sofa or your bed. If you've got a cushioned hand, you could use that to help you sit. I just wanted us to just see how it is to sit for a few breaths, not for very long. So when you've decided what position you're going to sit in, so yes, I suppose this is the one that I often tend to sit in rather than cross-legged, and you can see where you've got one, go back a little bit, one heel in front of the other. So whichever position you've chosen to be in, do a little bit of rocking or circling. I would say not cobbler pose, because in cobbler pose, it's really likely that we're going to end up quite slumped. So it might just be better to bring the feet a bit closer in. Yeah, a little bit of circling, a little bit of settling. And what we're going to do to start with is 3 times. We're going to bring the shoulders up as we breathe in, and then exhale, drop the shoulders. So breathe in, let your shoulders come up. Exhale, drop the shoulders. So one more time, letting a breath come in. Good. And we're just going to have maybe half a dozen or so cycles of breath in sitting. Your hands could be palms up or palms down. And close your eyes if that is okay for you. And just see, how does it feel to sit with your breath now? Just sort of quietly, can you locate the feeling of your breath somewhere inside of you? Notice where you feel your breathing. And notice how your breath feels. How does it feel as you breathe in? How does it feel as you breathe out? And one of the things I was thinking about yesterday when I was doing some sitting and breathing was in Thich Nhat Hanh talks about the in-breath being like a drink of cool water. So each time you inhale, you could imagine that your inhalation is like this drink of cool water. It's refreshing, it's bringing you what you need, it's quenching your thirst. Let's have 2 more cycles of breath in sitting, with that image of the inhalation being like a long drink of cool water. And then we're going to lie down. So you're going to be very pleased to hear that. You're going to lie down onto your mats, and we're going to do some things lying down. And so I suppose my invitation today is for you to just be lazy. There is going to be a little bit more of an active bit when we come onto hands and knees. We're going to do some, the things we don't always do on our backs. So but we're going to start with some quite familiar things. So settling onto your backs with your knees bent and your feet standing on the floor. And you could bring your hands onto your belly and just settle with the feeling, the belly, the front of the body. Settle with the feeling of the breath moving in your body. So one of the reasons we started in sitting is it's not always so easy in sitting to connect with our breathing, and we're going to see how it feels right at the end. And I've got a little poem for you, a Rumi poem. I know you like your poems on Friday morning. It's a little bit mystic. We'll have it now, we'll have it at the end. So as usual when we have a reading, it's just about, Not trying to interpret it, just letting the words land with you. We are the mirror as well as the face in it. We are tasting the taste this minute of eternity. We are pain and what cures pain, both. We are the sweet, cold water and the jar that pours. So you could start movements on your back by letting your head ease to the right and to the left and see how that feels. So notice how your neck feels as you're letting your head roll to the right and to the left. Let the back of your shoulders settle on the ground. And from rolling your head to the right and to the left, find a comfortable place to settle the back of your head down onto the floor. And then start to let your knees tilt to the right and to the left. And just see how this feels today. And so sometimes if we're feeling very stiff in the ribs, sometimes even just this movement of tilting the knees from side to side can start to make us aware of tightnesses higher up. And hopefully it also starts to help to ease them out a little bit. That's nice. So a few more times, letting your knees rock to the right and to the left. Because we're going slowly today, it does give us a little bit more time to stay with things. So it might be that we just do this a few more times than we normally do. Legs to the right and then to the left. And then you're going to settle in the centre, and you can either keep your knees bent, or if it's comfortable, lengthen your legs out on the floor. Because we're going to do a movement now for the upper back. So you want to leave your pelvis and legs quiet, but it's not always comfortable to lengthen the legs out. So you're going to take your arms up and make a big sort of O shape, interlinking your fingers. That's it. So you imagine you're holding a beach ball on your chest, and you're starting to then rock side to side across your upper back, without letting your circular, your O shape, your beach ball, without letting it get distorted. Very nice. Yeah, beautiful. Good. Yes, let your head rock in the same direction as your arms. So this one, with the arms in this position, I find it's probably the kindest on the upper back. We've got this curving shape for the arms, and that encourages maybe a softer curving shape in the upper back. Very nice. Let that lovely. The arms rock from side to side. Good. And again, if it's comfortable, carry on with this a little bit longer than you might normally do it. Of course, if your arms get tired or it's becoming painful in the upper back, then let it go. Otherwise, just a couple more times. Of course, whenever you want to, let the arms rest down. So when you come to rest the arms, then really give their weight to the floor. Let your breath come in, let your breath leave you. Let another cycle of breath move through you. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. And then we're going to bend the knees. If your legs are long, bend your knees once more. Bring your feet to stand on the floor. Come back to letting your knees tilt to the right and to the left, and see how that feels. Very nice. Good. So sometimes when we've had a chance to ease out tension from the upper back, it feels a bit easier lower down. Okay, rocking side to side. And then from there, you're going to pause in the center and fold your knees into your chest. And have a few breaths holding around the top of your knees. Just this nice feeling of folding in, letting the lower back lengthen out. Yes, if you like to rock a little bit from side to side, you can do. And then from here, whenever you'd like, you can also take your legs up to the ceiling and give them a shake out. Yes, you can add your arms in if you like. So it's really, you know, it's like when, you know, when you wash your, when you're cold and you wash your feet in cold water, taking the legs up is a bit like that. So refreshing. That's nice. So taking the legs up to the ceiling, giving them a shake out, and then bring your knees back to your chest. And we're going to come into a floor twist from here. So I'd like you to bring one arm around the back of your knees. So if you can, yeah, support your knees with one arm, and the other arm's going to come onto the floor at shoulder height. I'm deliberately not saying lefts and rights here, which I hope will help. So you're going to keep your arm that's on the floor settled, the shoulder settled, and then slowly take your knees down towards the floor on the other side. So Kate, we're coming into a floor twist like this. This is Kate O, into a floor twist like this. If you just list, that's it. Now, you might, if you have a cushion to hand, if your legs don't reach the floor fully, you can support them with your arm. So Kate, you wanted to keep your shoulder, that's it. So the arm stays on the floor. So on one side, your arm stays down and your legs go down onto the floor on the other side, if that's possible. They don't necessarily come all the way to the floor. Yeah, so it might be that you need to slide a cushion under your legs or support your legs with your hand. Yes, Kate, if it's feeling a lot, you can come back to the center, but there is a different variation I wanted you to try in this twist, if you're happy to stay there. So if you're still in the twist, what you can try is sliding your bottom knee a bit lower down, so that knee stays bent, and then you lengthen out your top leg. That's it, Sharon, and you can catch your big toe. So that's it, the bottom knee comes down and then you straighten out the top leg, a bit higher up with that top leg, Kate. So it's more, the top leg stays where it was. So the bottom leg slides down, but the top leg stays higher up where it was in its original position. So look at me if you're not sure. And then you lengthen it out so that you could, yeah, if you wanted to do that, catch, yeah, that's it, exactly, that's it, Kate, well done. You could catch your foot. Yes, and Kate M, resting your foot on a sofa, or Alice, looks like your foot might be on a wall. That's a really good idea. So it might not be that that foot comes to touch the wall, and if there's something it can go under. That's good. Okay. Yes, do slowly make your way back onto your back. So it is quite early in the class to be doing these floor twists, but I think with all the hot weather, maybe they feel, I don't know, we might just feel a bit more mobile. So you're going to go to the other side. So come back to the center, fold your knees into your chest again, change your arms over. So the arm that was on the floor is now supporting your legs, and the arm that was supporting your legs is now resting on the floor. So that shoulder is going to stay on the floor as you take your knees down towards the floor on the other side. Good. So we're trying to keep our shoulders settled. We're seeing where the legs go to. They may well not reach the floor. Mine often don't. Yeah, so that's when you could put a cushion under your legs. You could support them with your hand. Have a few breaths there. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. And then if you want to try the variation on this side, you can do. So that's when the bottom leg stays bent and it moves lower down. And then you lengthen out the top leg and you maybe catch your big toe or your ankle or your trouser leg. So the top leg is sort of closer towards your body. It's higher up, if that makes sense. Good. That's it. And that, yes, and that top leg could be, when you've lengthened that top leg out, it could be resting on something. If you have, yes, you haven't quite got something there, have you, Hilary? So that's it, Sheila. So that's top, yeah, that's nice. Good. Okay, have another few breaths there. I think these floor twists are very different every day. So some days it's like you can stay there, and other days you can't stay there, and it just feels a bit too much. So if it's feeling helpful to stay there, stay there. But if it's time to come out, then slowly make your way back onto your back. Hi, Donna. Connection problems. So when you've come back onto your back, we're going to take the legs back up into the air again. And I was thinking now you could do a bit of scissoring your legs. So taking your legs wide and then scissoring them. So Sarah, yes, you're doing more of the scissoring. But if it's fine for you to take your legs wide, you can alternate between wide legs and scissoring legs, if you like that one. And then you're going to stay with your legs crossed and bend your knees and fold your knees into your chest. So cross one thigh over, cross your knee over your knee rather than your ankles, Alice. Does that make sense? Yes, so we're doing a little mini sort of cow legs on our back, but you're just holding around the top of your knees. You're not trying to push it. That's it, Kate. So you've crossed your legs and then you're bending your knees. So your knees fold into your chest and your feet relax down to your bottom. That's it. So let the feet relax down towards the bottom. The knees are crossed. It's a little bit of a mini cow legs. Hold around your knees. So our main focus is on the knees folding in towards the chest. The feet are just, yeah, sort of flopping down towards your bottom. Yeah, it could be, some of you I can see are doing a little bit of rocking side to side. You could do that if you like, or you could just have a few breaths. Sometimes in this one, we feel a little bit unbalanced, when then we rock, we feel even more unbalanced. When you've had a few breaths in that one, you can take your legs back to the ceiling and you can cross your legs the other way round and come into that. So shake the legs out is a good idea. And then come into cow legs with the other leg on top and see how it feels. And have a few breaths folding in on this side. And so we, depending how things pan out, we may well be doing cow legs in sitting. And we'll be doing it the Friday morning way, because I know you have a particular way you prefer it. So have a few more breaths on that second side of cow. Yeah, rocking a little bit if you'd like. And then from here, you can take your arms and legs back up to the ceiling. You can give everything a bit of a shake out, that sort of refreshing feeling. And from there, you're going to come to lie long. If it's okay to lengthen your legs out on the floor, it won't be for that long. If it's really not good, then don't stay there. Lengthen the legs out and then bring the arms up by the side of your head. So the one we've been doing a little bit recently, where you then interlink your fingers and stretch your palms away from you. So you stretch into your heels, you stretch your palms away from you. With your arms on the floor, Donna, rather than up in the air. Arms on the floor either side of your head, yeah? So arms on the floor either side of your head. You're reaching your hands in the opposite direction to your heels. Stretch into that and then just release and soften. Let a breath come in. You can bend your knees, stand your feet on the floor if you prefer. We're going to be in a moment rolling onto one side, and this is lying on your side with your knees bent in a sort of relaxed way. So you've either got your arm like a pillow under your head, or if you have a cushion, you could put it under your head. And we're just doing not anything that much on our side. So think about making yourself comfortable on your side. So as if, yes, as if you were going to go to sleep, but we'll try not to go to sleep right now. So comfortable on your side with your knees bent. You're not trying to, knees bent. You're not trying to balance. And I think some of us did this on Wednesday. I'm sort of, the heat has got to me. I can't remember what's happened this week. I want you to do the little movement where you're lifting your bottom ribs away from the floor. So it's as if, and I'll get very good for you, Sharon. So it's as if you're making a little tunnel under the bottom side of your body. You lift your bottom ribs off the floor and then you place them back down again. So it's quite a small movement. I always think it's like a little tunnel for a mouse, but if you don't like mice, then don't think about that. Good. So a couple more times, lifting those bottom ribs away from the floor, placing them back down, seeing how that movement feels. And you might notice as you lift those bottom ribs that your top shoulder and hip move away from each other. I can see that happening in some of you. And then just let yourself settle on your side and have a few quiet breaths there. So you can now feel the side of your body resting on the floor. And how does it feel to let the breath come in, let the breath leave you, to be? So to me, it comes back to that line in the Rumi poem. We are tasting the taste this minute. That goes to of eternity. But we're tasting, you know, how does this minute in our body, in this position, taste or feel? And in your own time, you're going to, can you do it in a very sort of lazy, languid, fluid way, roll back onto your back and then over onto the other side. So yeah, how can you do that movement that's very sort of, yeah, lazy? Very nice, good. Roll on to side two, and you settle yourself on side two with your arm under your head or your cushion under your head, making yourself comfortable. And yes, I get quite a good view of people's backs this way. So on this side, you're doing the same thing again, that lifting those bottom ribs off the floor. So you're making this little, very nice, making this sort of little tunnel, little archway, mini archway under the side of your body. Good, that's nice. And see how that feels. And so obviously, like with any movement, if it feels uncomfortable, try and make it easier, maybe doing less. Good. But I find this one can be really helpful if my lower back is feeling a bit creaky. That's nice. So just a couple more times, lifting those bottom ribs off the floor, placing them back down again. And then you can settle on your side, feel the bottom side of your body in contact with the ground. Feel the movement of your breath through your body. Again, how does it feel to be in this position right now, focusing on the movement of your breath. And from your side, there's no rush, but we're going to be coming over onto hands and knees. And because we're going quite slowly today, you might need a bit of time to arrive on hands and knees to feel, it might take a very long time to feel fully present on hands and knees. So it might be a little bit of circling, you know, shifting. You could be rocking your weight forwards and back a little, or circling your shoulders over your hands. Just maybe some little movements that will help you settle on hands and knees. And feel the weight through your hands, feel the weight through your knees. And when you're ready, you can start to explore some cat movements. So rounding your back, dipping your spine, seeing how these movements feel today. And just in this first little bit, we're going to do some cat. I'd like you to do a couple of dog poses. And you also might feel that when in doing cat, you want to do a bit of tail wagging. So those are just your sort of few, your few things here. So it's a little bit up to you. So from doing some cat, you might feel that you want to go back into child pose. But at some point, big handprints on the floor. See how it feels to come into dog. So tucking your toes under, rocking your hips up and back, coming into dog pose. So I often think that when I come into, we come into dog pose, and it sort of gives us a good sense of where are all the stiff and achy places in our body today. So feet, ankles, legs, shoulders, all these places that might feel a little bit tight. Yeah, they might not, might feel fantastic. So you go up into your first dog, you see how it feels. You might come back onto hands and knees, or you might fold into child pose for a breath or two. And then when you're ready, you come into a second dog pose. We're going to, as usual, be moving in and out of dog throughout this next section of the class. And so each time we come into dog, maybe we start to be able to release a little bit more. Maybe our body starts to find itself again in dog pose. Good. That's nice, good. Yes, I can see some of you doing one-leg dog poses. So if you, anything you feel drawn to doing is absolutely fine. I think there is an opportunity later on when I will suggest those as well. When you've done a couple of dog poses, you've got a choice of 3 places for a few quiet breaths. It could be kneeling, it could be child pose, it could be lying on your belly. So just choose one of these 3 places. So kneeling, child pose, lying on the belly. And seeing how it feels to come back to feeling your breath in your body. For a few cycles of breath, letting the breath flow in, letting the breath flow out. Going to get a little bit more active now. You may be pleased to hear or not so pleased. We're going to come onto hands and knees and see how our plank pose feels. And what I was going to suggest is that you just see what it's like to stay in plank pose for a little bit longer than you might normally do. I'm not going to time you. So shoulders over your hands, lengthening one leg back behind you, tucking your toes under, adding the other leg in. And then how does it feel to stay in plank pose? And obviously, if there's discomfort, particularly in the shoulders, don't stay there. But see, what's it like to stay in dog plank, to breathe? Not that easy to breathe. Feel the abdominals working to keep your pelvis in this straight line. See if you can carry on a little bit, but obviously whenever you want to come back down, we'll be up there for you. Just come back down, sit back over your heels, either in down kneeling or up kneeling, and give your hands a little bit of a shake out. So, plank pose is great for us feeling a bit more confident in the strength of our arms. Also, if our pelvis is in the right place, our abdominals automatically kick in. We're going to do a little sequence that takes us from plank into dog, forward bend, squat, lying on the belly. So we'll do this a couple of times. So come back onto hands and knees. Settling your hands so you've got your wrists under your shoulders for plank pose. Lengthening one leg out behind you, adding the other leg in. Just having a few breaths this time. We won't stay so long in plank this time. A few breaths in plank pose. Feeling the support of the bones of the arms, stretching your heels away. And then as you exhale, you can send your hips up and back into dog. It's quite a long dog pose from plank. You could be there for a breath or two. And then walk your feet in a little bit into a more comfortable dog, if you like. Have a couple of breaths in this dog pose. And then you're going to start to walk your hands in towards your feet. So you're coming into a forward bend. So all of the weight's in your feet, letting your head go, letting your arms go. And then from here, we're going to start to bend the knees. So we're coming down through a squat. Now, it's fine in this squat if your heels come up. If you want to put something under your heels, that's also fine. But we're not going to stay here long. And from this squat, Alice, you might have to sort of make a different maneuver, depending how this works with your feet. If possible, you're going to roll through the tops of your feet onto hands and knees. If you have to come to a different route, that's fine to come onto hands and knees. And then lower yourself down onto your belly. And rest your forehead on the back of your hands. So have maybe one hand on top of the other, rest your forehead on the back of your hands. Just let yourself arrive. You could wiggle your pelvis a little bit. That's always a nice thing to do on your belly to settle and release tension. Let a breath come in, let a breath leave you. See how it feels to be on your belly. And then from there, just slide your hands forwards a little bit on the floor, and they may come apart from each other. And you're going to do that movement where as you exhale, you're lifting your head off the floor, trying to use the muscles, that's it, in your upper back. So lifting your head up, good, bringing your head back down. So you go in and out of these movements. So I would say probably lift your head as you exhale, come back down as you breathe in. Or you could stay with your head lifted, receive an in-breath, and then come back down. The next exhalation, good. Just do that perhaps once or twice more. Very nice, beautiful, looks fabulous. And then from here, you're either going to have a couple more breaths on your belly, or if you prefer, you're going to fold back into child pose. Yes, just decide, because we're going to do this whole sequence again. So just decide from here whether you would like to have a couple of breaths in child pose before coming on into plank. Obviously, we're not going to be heaving ourselves up from our belly. So from child pose or from your belly, you're going to make your way back onto hands and knees. And so again, on hands and knees, we're going to think about organising ourselves well for plank pose. So in plank pose, we tend to have the hands a bit closer together than dog, so that our hands are under our shoulders. Sometimes in dog, we go a bit more like that. So wrists under the shoulders, lengthen one leg back, tuck your toes under, add the second leg in. Try to feel you're in your long, straight line of plank pose, having a few cycles of breath. From plank pose, we're going to then be sending the pelvis up and back into dog. Be in that long dog for a breath or two. See how that feels. And then you can step your feet in a little bit. Into a shorter dog. You might even feel that you want to take your hands a little bit wider apart. All of these things are options. Exhaling. And then walking your hands in towards your feet. So you arrive in a forward bend with all of your weight in your feet. And have a good look at your feet at this point. So you want to have your feet hip width apart and parallel. And it could be a generous hip width because we are going to go down through our squat. So let your head go, let your arms go in the forward bend. And then to come into your squat, start to bend your knees more. Knees bend forwards over the feet. If the heels come up, that's fine. From our squat, we're going to roll through the tops of the feet or come onto hands and knees, however works for you. And walk your hands forward so you can lower yourself down onto your belly. Rest with the cheek or the forehead on the back of your hands. And again, give the pelvis a little bit of a wiggle here. So we're just seeing how can we settle on the belly. Someone's lying on the belly can be quite a nice thing to do in this warm weather. And from here, then let the hands slide forwards a little bit on the floor. So maybe now your forehead comes to touch the floor, just beneath your hands. And like we did on the other side, sinking into your forearms and elbows, lifting your head, trying to use those muscles in the upper back. Good, very nice. You could be moving as you exhale. You could try moving as you breathe in, but it's quite helpful here to use the breath to help you in this movement. So maybe once more, lifting the head, sinking down into your forearms. And then again, like we did on the other side, I think this time it would be, have a few breaths on your belly if you like, but I think we'll all fold back into child pose because it will be quite nice before the next thing we're going to do. So a few breaths on the belly and then fold back into child pose. Kate, yes, you stay on your belly. So when you folded into child pose, just that feeling of just feel yourself in child pose with that sort of very closed, yeah, in the front of your hip joints. So there's that deep fold in the front of your hip joints. Because we're going to be coming in a moment on into a couple of lungey things. So Sarah, just like sort of more mini lunges for you. Work. Yes, so from child pose, or yeah, squatting if that feels good for the lower back, Hilary. So from wherever you are, you're going to be coming into a lunge with, obviously with one foot forwards. So with your foot between your hands to start with. So these lunge type things are always a bit easier in this hot weather. They're a bit stretchy. I was thinking at one point, oh, this is the time for the splits, but then I wasn't sure about the splits on Zoom. That would be a bit of a disaster. So from here, from having your foot between your hands, you can then walk that front foot a bit more out to the side. So your hands come onto the inside of your foot. And what I would like you to do if possible, and you might need a book under your hands, I'm not sure, is to be able to stand your hands on the floor. So your arms are a bit like plank pose in this. They're probably a bit closer together. But if you really walk your foot out to the side, the hands could stand on the floor like plank pose. Because then if you wanted to, you could tuck your toes under in your back foot and pick your back knee off the ground. So it's this very sort of stretchy lunge, and have a few breaths there. And if you're leaning through your arms, then it can feel a bit like plank pose as well, but with this sort of added stretch. Have a breath or two there. You might decide that's more than enough. We want to come down. We're going to ease backwards before we do the other side. So if you're easing backwards, you're untucking your back toe. You're bending your back knee more and you're lengthening out your front leg. Yeah, so look at me, sure. So this sort of easing back. And then swap your foot over in lunge. So bring the other foot forwards. Start off with that foot between your hands. Have a few breaths there. And then you're going to walk your foot out to the side so that your hands can come onto the inside of your foot. Again, remember, if you want to have a book or a block under your hands, if that's helpful, you're trying to have your hands a bit like plank pose on the floor. Foot can go quite out to the side. And that's just particularly helpful if you are going to do the stage where you're tucking your back toe under, lifting your back knee off the ground. If you can really lean and rest through your arms, it just distributes the effort in the pose a bit better. Stretching your heel away from you, having a couple of breaths there. This is quite a strong opening through the front of the groin, so we probably don't want to stay there too long. And it feels very nice to come into that easing out position. So the back knee comes down, we untuck the toe, we rock back, we ease out. And then come onto hands and knees, and you're going to come into dog pose again and see how dog pose feels now. So think about really big handprints on the floor. The hands can be quite wide apart. Tucking your toes under, exhaling, rocking your hips back and then up. Coming into dog pose, see how it feels now. Maybe some of those tightnesses in our first dog pose have eased out a little bit. Yes, letting the head really go. Al, that's nice. Good. Settling down into your hands, letting the head hang. Very nice. Good. Good, good, good. When you come down from this dog pose, just if it's comfortable to be kneeling for a moment, sit in kneeling for a moment. If it's not comfortable sitting down and kneeling, be up in kneeling and give your hands a bit of a shake out. You could also bring the backs of your hands together, this one here. So we're going to come now on into a lunge twist. So Sarah, you can do this. You can do this one as more upright, yeah? So you can be more, a much smaller lunge, more upright, and then sliding forwards in this one. Maybe that arm comes up, okay? So that's Sarah. The rest of you are going to come into a longer lunge, and a similar movement, but slightly different. So step 1 foot forwards between your hands, and I might do it this way just to start with. So you're going to have one hand that comes onto the floor. So again, if you need a block under this hand, it's really helpful if you can have the flat of your hand on the floor. We're going to be turning towards the front leg. I'm going to go this way now. So you've got your hand on the floor where your missing foot is. You're turning towards the front leg. The other hand's on the back of your pelvis. Now that might be enough. You might not want to go further. But if you do, you could tuck your back toe under, and again, the back knee comes off the ground. And then this top arm, you reach forwards. So you've got this long diagonal from your back heel to your front fingers. You're still trying to be turning. Your body is still turning towards that front leg. Have a few breaths there. Really quite strong lengthening. And then you ease out. And again, you might want to do this easing back movement we did. So folding back. Good. And then you can try moving on to side 2. So again, Sarah, you're up here. The rest of you come into your lunge on side 2. So Sarah, you're here, trying to feel steady. And then turning towards that front leg. And then sliding forwards. So if you're doing the lower lunge one, your foot's between your hands. Again, remember, if you can stand the flat of your hand on the floor, it's quite helpful in this. You're turning here. Tucking your back toe under, letting the back knee come off the ground. Sarah, I can quite see, yes, you're in this more upright one. So if those of you who've tucked your back toe under, you've brought the back knee off the ground, you've then reaching your fingertips in the opposite direction to your back heel. So the back heel's reaching away from you, your fingertips are reaching forward, your body is turned towards your front leg. You have a couple of breaths there, it's probably more more than enough. And then ease out again, ease out again. So you're going to come into one more dog pose when you're ready. And this might be, I think in my book it says it, this might be the, oh no, we're not going to come into dog pose. We've got one, we want to know. Yeah, this is something we don't do that often, but I thought in the warm weather and given those lunges, you're going to try. So you could be, if kneeling isn't so good for you, you could have a cushion here or something under the tops of your feet. What I wanted you to try, you might need something under your fingers, is this one. It's this camel movement. So there is the, okay, so this is one of the possibilities, yeah, this one. If that's not so good for your fingers, so Sarah, I'm just thinking about you with the wrists, you could be doing this way into camel. And Helen, if the kneeling bit of it is challenging, there's this way into camel. You could even, Sarah, you could even have your toes tucked under to make it slightly easier to bring your fingers towards your heels. So this one can be quite, camel is challenging, so I don't often teach it. You're sinking down into the tops of your feet. Some of you might find you can walk your hands forwards onto your heels. Now for some people it's very helpful movement for the upper back. But you also might think, oh my goodness, that's just hideous. I don't want to do anything like that. So the other way in would be from here with the toes tucked under and going back towards your camel. Find your heel. Find your heel. Oh. Yes. So that might be more than enough of that. In which case, you might like to just come to a squat for a moment for your lower back. In case obviously this isn't good for the knee or something else. So it probably for this squat, it would be helpful to put something under your heels. So you could stay in, if you need to, so you can stay in your squat. Can you let your knees come apart? Can you fold your body? We're not going into a hand balance, don't worry. Don't be that crazy. Can you fold down in between your legs? You have a few breaths in your squat, letting the lower back feel long. Feel that the weight of the pelvis is dropping to the ground. From this squat, Sarah, you're going to be coming into kneeling. Everyone else, if they're comfortable with it, is coming into cobbler pose. So you can, so Sarah, you can roll forwards through your toes into kneeling. If you're coming into cobbler pose, you can bring your hands behind you, sit your bottom down, and bring your feet wider apart. So again, these ones like cobbler pose are perhaps a little bit easier in this hot weather because our muscles are a little bit more relaxed. So from here, we're going to come on into pinwheel. Yeah, so let one knee come on top of the other. Let your top leg slide back. Now, if you like that variation we've done probably maybe last week or the week before, where you give yourself a hug, you let your head hang. So if you're feeling tight in the neck and shoulders, this is nice. You let your head hang and you circle. One way and then the other. So whatever sort of circling you'd like to do, or you can let your arms be free. So whatever you prefer in your pinwheel. And then we're going to fold in a moment into the pinwheel forward bend. And we're going to stay here and just, again, that sort of feeling of settling and breathing in this place. So we're turning towards the leg that's going out to the side. We're folding forwards, settling down. And seeing if you can settle with your breathing, feeling the movement of the breath through your body. Letting the breath come in, letting the breath leave you. Giving yourself time here. So again, I'll maybe come back to that line in the poem. We are tasting the taste this minute of eternity. So hopefully it's not feeling like eternity in a tortuous way in Pinwheel. You can, when you're ready, walk your hands in towards you, come back up into sitting Pinwheel. Zara, come back into kneeling. The rest of you opening your legs out into cobbler pose. I'm just going to come and join Zara in kneeling. Let's just do a bit of this leaning. So you can do this in cobbler pose. You're leaning from side. Yeah, it's the same thing. You're kneeling or cobbler pose. You're leaning from side to side. And that leaning can come into a side lengthening movement. Yeah, if you want to. So you can be doing this in kneeling, in cobbler pose. You don't have to take your arm up if you don't want to. I always find these movements sort of go on forever because we keep thinking, yeah, when are we going to be balanced? There's a nice feeling of that sit length through the side of the body. And then eventually we will go on into side 2 of Pinwheel. So from kneeling, you can sit down. From cobbler pose, bring your legs over to here, slide your legs apart. So side 2 of Pinwheel. A little bit of circling. So we can circle with our arms free. We can give ourselves a hug. Let our head fall forwards. If this feels nice, finding all this space between the shoulder blades, letting the shoulders drop, letting the head hang. Circling, breathing, settling. And whenever you are ready, you can release your arms, you can turn towards the knee that's going out to the side, you can fold down over that leg and settle. So settling with your breathing. How does it feel to be here in your Pinwheel forward bend, feeling the movement of your breath through your body? How does it feel when the breath comes in? How does it feel as the breath leaves you? Having a few more cycles of breath there, just as much as possible, allowing yourself to settle, to breathe, to feel, to be absorbed in the sensations of the movement and the breath. So when you walk your hands in towards you, you've got 2 options here. So one option is to head on into pigeon. They're both sort of pigeony options. So one option is to slide this knee back, lengthen the leg back on into pigeon. The other option is to, which I don't teach so often, and some of you may like this, some of you may not, is to take this leg back, take the back leg back. So you're coming a bit more onto the front of the thigh and catching your foot. And then you're rolling a little bit like this. So Sarah, I think for you, probably just coming on into a normal pigeon is going to be better. And that might be the case for several of you. But if this, yeah, I don't know. So if this movement, so it may not be at all helpful for you. If it isn't, don't do it. And come on into pigeon. For some of you, I think we did this on Wednesday as well. So this is something I used to do a lot and found it very helpful around the pelvis. But I think there needs to be this possibility for rocking. Otherwise, it just gets a bit fixed and held. So it might be that you do a bit of that and then you roll into pigeon. Remember to be, Kate, if you need to, your knee needs to be, the pressure needs to be taken off it. Be very lopsided in your pigeon, that's fine. And just have a few breaths in pigeon. Maybe leaning on your forearms, letting the breath come in, letting the breath leave you. And then I realised we didn't do this on the other side of pinwheel, so we will, it's a bit of an oversight, so we will go all the way. When we roll out of pigeon, we might want to lengthen our legs out. Can't quite see how that happened. And we'll go back into side one of pinwheel so we can do our pigeony things on that side. So we can come into pinwheel by bringing our feet as wide as the narrow edge of the mat and letting our knees tilt over. So that would bring us into pinwheel side one, hopefully. So remember, you've either letting your knees slide out a bit, lengthening your back leg coming on into pigeon, or if you wanted to try one where you catch your foot, this knee slides back. We're trying to roll a bit more onto the top of this thigh. So again, if this is helpful for you. So as much as possible in this one, we're trying to find this possibility of being able to roll our weight onto the sort of, yeah, the top of the thigh, the front of the thigh, and then back onto the hip of the front leg. So you may or may not find that one helpful. If it's not so helpful, then release that back leg and let yourself roll over into pigeon and have a few breaths in pigeon. So yes, I was only really introducing that one because it's maybe more possible for some of us in this warm weather. So have a few breaths in pigeon, and then we're going to do the Friday morning way into cow legs in a moment. So from pigeon, you can roll out onto your front leg hip, take your hands back behind you, lengthen your legs out, give them a little bit of a rock. So Kate, I think just be careful with your knee in this. Well, everyone will be careful with their knees. So we're going to come into cow legs from hands and knees. So if you want to do it with me, keep your left knee on the floor, but bring it a bit more to the centre. Lengthen your right leg out behind you. And then let your left foot swing over to the right a bit. And your right knee then comes down onto the floor behind the left knee. And if you look back, you've got a foot on either side. I always think of it like bunny ears. So the feet are sticking out either side. And then we do this rocking here. So at this point, if you're thinking, okay, my knees don't like it, you might not want to stay here too long. Can be, yes, it's quite good for the hips. Lots of undoing around the outside of the hip joints. From here, what we do is sit back, using our hands, lower ourselves to sit back in between our heels. Now, some of you might find this is just too much, and in that case, you might want to lengthen out the bottom leg. It's up in a very strange place so, on the mat. So, yeah. So either with both knees bent or with the bottom leg straight, we're going to do a little turn, a little twist towards the top leg. So sitting, yeah, some of these sitting twists are so helpful because they really get our ribs to move. Now, if your bottom is not on the floor on one side, you might want to slide a cushion or a book underneath your sit bones, or again, straighten out that bottom leg. Have a few more breaths turned towards your top leg. Just seeing if you can feel that rotation in the spine between the shoulder blades, in the ribs, letting the shoulders drop. I won't keep you in cow legs too long, hot weather or not. Turn back to the centre, lean back on your hands, ease your legs out. Give them a little bit of a lengthen, a little bit of a bounce, a bit of a roll. So, side 2 of cow. We're nearly coming back to lie down again. So side 2 of cow. So back on hands and knees. This time keep your right knee in the centre, but move it a bit more towards the centre. Sorry, on the floor. Right, move it towards the centre. The back leg, the left leg lengthens out behind you. And then that left knee comes down onto the floor behind the right knee. So if you look back, you see a foot on either side. We're not trying to identify whether it's left or right. A little bit of rocking here. You can see how this feels in the hip joints. Already for me, it feels there's quite a lot going on. And then I know some of you are raring to rock back and sit back into cow legs, so down in between the heels. And just remember, it's going to be really different each side. So again, if you come back and something doesn't feel quite right, then there's always that option of lengthening out the bottom leg. Yeah. Because we want to be able to sit here comfortably enough that we can do this twisting movement, this turning towards the top leg, where we really ask our rib cage to move. Good. Have another couple of breaths there. Dropping the shoulders. Okay, I won't keep you in cow legs. I won't keep you in cow legs any longer. Turn back to the centre, lean back on your hands, lengthen your legs out. So we are making our way into lying down, but we're going to do it through a little bit of rolling back and, yes, a little bit of our favourite abdominal balance. So this movement, yeah. So we're starting off easily. So feet on the floor, sliding your hands from your feet to your knees, looking down at the floor and your belly. So in this one, it's all about trying to balance on the middle of our backs. So we can do this a few times, and then eventually we have to let the feet come up. And we're rolling back, and we're just trying to balance on the middle of our back. And then look forwards to come up again. So it's a little balance in the extent that we're trying not to go all the way down. Trying to sort of keep on the middle of the back. So just keep repeating. Look at the belly, look forwards to come back up. Roll back, looking down, look at your belly where all the work is going on. Look forwards, come back up. And then you all know what's coming. We can roll down, we can balance on the middle of the back, and we straighten the legs a bit more. Oh, lovely work in those abdominals. We can have a couple of breaths. Oh, and then back up. We'll do that twice more, and then you definitely deserve a lie down. So rolling back, looking at your belly, feet come off. What happens when you lengthen the legs? Bend your knees to come up one last time, and then you definitely deserve to collapse down onto your back. So rolling down, looking at your belly, picking the feet up, lengthening the legs out. Oh, and then, yes, down onto your back. Just, yes, settle down. Okay. So we are going to move here a bit in a moment, but it might just be nice to lie there. Might like to take your hands onto the front of your body. Feel the movement of your breath in your belly, so the belly can soften now. You also might like to roll your head to the right and to the left. Then just coming to rest, coming to settle the back of the head on the floor, letting the breath come in, letting the breath leave you. And in your own time, if your legs are long, bend your knees and bring your feet to stand on the floor. Feel the contact of your footprints on the floor. Feel the back of your pelvis on the floor. And then start to let your knees tilt to the right and to the left. And see how this movement feels now in your body. Knees tilting to the right and to the left. And then settle your knees in the center and come to a little bit of tilting your pelvis up and down. So tipping the pelvis towards your head and away from your head. So when the pelvis tips away from your head, your lower back arches a little bit. When your pelvis tips towards your head, you flatten out that curve in the back of your waist. And you can, from this tilting of your pelvis, you can stay with it a bit longer if you like, but you can also move into bridge pose from that tipping the pelvis towards your head. So tipping the tailbone off the floor, then you can carry on moving into bridge pose. So perhaps 2 or 3 times rolling up and down in bridge pose, making sure your feet are really planted so that you feel supported through your legs and your feet. Seeing how it feels to pick the spine up off the floor vertebrae by vertebrae, or it might not come up quite like that. How does it feel to place the spine back down onto the floor? Vertebrae by vertebrae. You're noticing, how does the lower back feel? How does the spine between the shoulder blades feel? How does the neck feel? These are sort of, probably nearly all of the spine, isn't it? But these are all the places where we can get a bit stiff, a bit held, where we could usually find a bit more length, find a bit more release. The next time your pelvis comes back onto the ground, let it settle. And keep your right knee bent and lengthen your left leg out on the floor. So feel your right footprint on the floor, and you're going to come to that pressing movement where you press into your right foot. The pelvis lifts on the right side, the pelvis tilts to the left. That's nice, good. So you all know this one well. So doing this a few times, pressing into the right foot, your knee travels forwards over your footprint, your pelvis tilts to the left. Lovely. Notice how this feels through your body. The pelvis is lifting on the right and it's taking some of the ribs with it, so we can feel the reverberations of this traveling throughout the body. You can add in the variations. So the next time your pelvis is on the floor fully, cross your arms over your chest with your, your right arm on top. Cross your arms over your chest with your right arm on top. That's it. So as you press into your right foot, you roll across your upper back, so your weight rolls onto the back of your left shoulder, and you reach out on the floor with your right fingertips. On the left, good. That's it. So now you feel that the whole of the weight of the whole of your back is rolling towards the left side. That's it, rolling towards the left side. Let your head roll to the left as well. That's nice, good. So this movement, I just think it's very soothing. It's very good for, yes, easing ourselves out in our back. Giving ourselves a massage, softening, releasing. I'll do that 2 or 3 more times on that side, wherever feels good. When you've finished with this, you can keep your knee bent, uncross your arms, and then fold that right knee into your chest. Just have a breath or two with the knee folded in towards you. And then we can do a twist from this position. So if you keep supporting your knee with your left hand, but then bring your right arm onto the floor at shoulder height. And then what you can do from here is start to rock that right knee across your body over towards the left. And yeah, you could rock in and out. It's quite nice in this one. So keep the knee as close to your chest as possible, Sheila. That's it. So you want to keep the knee close to your chest. And as your knee rocks over towards the left, the back of your pelvis comes off the floor. That's it. But you want to keep your right shoulder on the floor. So you can either keep rocking in and out in this one, or yes, if you've got a cushion there, Hilary, you can support that knee, or you can make a little shelf with your left arm. So your left elbow comes onto the floor and the hand makes a little sort of platform to support your right knee. That's it, good. Good, because you would want to keep your right shoulder as settled on the floor as possible. Very nice. Have a few breaths there. If you wanted to, if you wanted to do a really stretchy version in this one, Al, you could always straighten out that top leg as well and catch your big toe. So both legs are straight. That's depending how lively you're feeling at this point. Good. So you can have a few breaths in that twist. You can obviously come out by rolling onto your back whenever you're ready. Just perhaps maybe lengthen both legs out. I don't know, whatever you feel like you want to do. You might want to fold both knees in towards you. Yes, legs up to the ceiling's a nice option, Alice. And let a breath come in, let a breath leave you. And then we're going to do these same movements on the left side. So now organise yourself so your left knee is bent, your left foot is standing on the floor, your right leg is long. You're coming to pressing into your left foot, letting your pelvis tilt towards the right. Seeing how that feels. That's it. So sending your left knee forwards over your left footprint. How does it feel when the left side of your pelvis comes away from the floor? And the weight shifts towards the right side of your pelvis. Whenever you like, you can add in the arms, crossing your arms over your chest. So it would be your left arm is on top now. So that as you press into that left foot and you roll towards the right side of the pelvis, you also roll towards the back of the right shoulder, and your left fingertips reach away from you on the floor on the right. So We can just feel the whole, and the head rolls also towards the right. So we can feel the whole of ourselves involved in this movement. Do that once or twice more if you like. Lovely. And then uncrossing your arms, keeping your knee bent, and then folding that knee in towards your chest. Having a breath or two with the knee folded in towards you. And then you keep supporting the knee with the right hand, and the left arm comes onto the floor at shoulder height. And just like we did on the other side, you're rocking your knee across your body, this time over towards the right. Yes, if you've got cushions to support your knee, that's nice. Or you can. So your right leg is long. If you want to do this twist, your left knee is bent into your chest. Kate, I'm not sure whether, are you doing the same side again? I can't quite tell. You've got your right knee bent. This is Kate M. Yes, that's it. Good. That's it. So again, you can be making that little shelf with your right hand. So the right elbow's on the floor. The palm of the right hand can support the left knee. See how the twist was? Yes, if you fancy a bit more of a stretch, you can obviously lengthen out that top leg. If you can catch your big toe or sort of hold the leg somewhere. That's it, Sheila. Good. Have a few breaths in the twist, but obviously coming out whenever you've had enough. And I think what I wanted to do when I came out of this yesterday was just very quietly fold my knees into my chest and have a few breaths. But if you prefer to do a little bit of the happy baby rocking or something a little bit more active, you could do. Also, if you'd like to take both legs up towards the ceiling, you can do that. So in a moment, we're going to lie quietly with our breathing. I'm going to read the poem to you again. And when I come to ring the singing bowl, we're going to very quietly make our way into sitting, and we're going to finish just for a few cycles of breath, sitting and breathing. But so first of all, lying down, and then we'll finish sitting and breathing. So in a way like we started. First of all, make yourselves comfortable on your backs. It can be legs long or knees bent. Settling your body and gathering your awareness into your breath. So feeling the movement of the breath in your body. Letting yourself settle, allowing yourself this opportunity to rest and to be with the feeling of your breath, with the feeling of your body supported by the ground, with the feeling of the air on your skin. So once more, we'll come back to the poem from Rumi. We are the mirror as well as the face in it. We are tasting the taste this minute of eternity. We are pain and what cures pain, both. We are the sweet, cold water and the jar that pours. So in a moment, I'm going to ring the singing bowl 3 times and just let yourself stay lying until we reach the silence after the 3rd sound. Then just very slowly, mindfully bring yourself up into a comfortable sitting position. So as you arrive in sitting, just notice how it feels. And so maybe after all the movement we've done, we can just feel a bit heavier through the legs and the pelvis. You can rest the hands, palms up, palms down on your thighs. You can close your eyes if that feels okay. Do a little bit of rocking or swaying if you like. In sitting, once you've settled, gathering your awareness into your breathing. Letting the breath come in, letting the breath leave you. Just feeling how it is to be sitting and breathing in this minute. This moment, this second. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to unmute you, or I'm not going to unmute anyone. Unmute some of you.
Thank you, Kara.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Thank you, Kara.